Welcome to Over the Line, where we challenge everything you've been told about health and wellness. We're here to shake things up for anyone over 40 who's ready to go beyond the basics. Join us as we dive into the radical side of fitness and mindset. We're talking about why we're not afraid to break the rules and how our own lives have been transformed. Ready or not, let's jump in.
Hi, and welcome to our show Over the Line. I'm Tina Hyatt, and this is my co-host, Guy Jones. Hi, Guy.
Hi, Tina.
Do you want to introduce our guest today?
Yeah, sure. Hi there. This is Liz Simmonds, and she's an amazing natural healer and Reiki practitioner. And also she practices a thing called Rahani celestial healing. And but before we get into the details of it, I would like to just listen to your life story, Liz, and tell us how you got to be here.
Okay, so how long have we got to start with? You know, I mean,
how long
as you need.
So at 53 years, there's quite a lot of it. No, sort of backstory, came from London originally, moved to Reading when I was 10, of which my mum and dad then separated, and I was raised by my dad along with my youngest brother. And then we moved to a place called Wantage, which I believe, Guy, yeah, you know Wantage, don't you?
Very well, yeah.
So, and I just want to put in there, I do think that probably when my mum left, that was a huge trauma to me. And whilst I was already what would now, I believe, psychologically be called, in the psychological world, would be called a hypersensitive child, you know, I think I was always that hypersensitive child, and I would call that psychic. My inner senses were always very, very strong. So fast forward to now, after a lifetime of what seems to be like not very nice situations, you know, and that's about as far as I'll go with that today. But I think having all the corners constantly knocked off, as if you're in a barrel, like a tumblestone in a barrel, you know, I think is what brings people like myself, healers, out. I think I was born one. I believe we're born, and then we kind of progress and we kind of finely tune, and then we become the version of that we are today, which progresses too, you know, and evolves. So yeah, my backstory comes from, you know, quite a few traumas. The type of person I am as well. I'm typically a Piscean, and we do tend to be on the watery side of things with our emotions, and the psychic side of things, and the extremely empathic side of things. So that's kind of my backstory, really.
That's interesting you should talk about Piscean, because my mother was a Pisces, and I think that she probably had to close down a lot of her psychic stuff because of her upbringing.
Yeah.
Because my grandmother, as much as I love her to bits, even though she's been gone for 30 odd years, was a mad woman. And if you ever watched Keeping Up Appearances with Hyacinth Bouquet and her
There
husband,
was one.
well, my grandfather was Richard, and my grandmother was literally like her. She would horrified if anyone ever saw the reality.
Oh, I had a grandmother like that too. I think it's important also to say at that point, that's a version of programming.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's a programming, you know, like whatever we were brought up around as children. I mean, the biggest programming happens in our, you know, early years up until sort of like 8 years old. From there on, it's just accentuates it, you know. It's almost like I came to the point probably about 12, 14 years ago, where I realized I had to start unlearning a load of stuff before I could start relearning the good stuff, you know, the stuff that was more beneficial, the stuff that would help me through, the stuff that would change the struggles, you know, and the challenging experiences in life. I think we all face that as well, to some lesser or greater degree. You know, it's all about the programming that we had, and ancestral programming as well, because like you said, you're talking about your mum, you alluded to your nan. There will have been a programming for your nan, you know.
She wasn't nan. If you call her that, she'd have murdered you. She was grandma.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I never heard of Nan until I moved here. I didn't. Like, oh, you want to be called Nan? Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah,
Couldn't do that in the States.
that's another form of programming as well, being from a different area on the globe, you know, like the way they did things, cultural differences as well, and things like that. So we've all got that backstory that adds to what we are right now. Those of us that are on the screen, you know, things, we've all got that backstory and the reason we are what we are right now.
Reiki, how did you get into that?
I was always in tune with psychic stuff, although I felt, quite frankly, I fell on the darker side of light, if you might say it, with such religious connotations in the background of my family. Anything psychic was really shoved under the carpet. Talking freely, like I'm talking now, wouldn't have been done. You know, it was something to be scared of. It was only a few hundred years ago that witches were hunted and burnt at the stakes, for instance. You know, that is still a program that's running. It's running out, but it's running, you know. So I definitely fought misunderstanding. So I misunderstood myself because the world around me wasn't helping me to understand myself, because it didn't want to understand either. So I was fighting that one. And I think I started to accept certain things happened. I would have premonitions, precognitions. The proof is in the pudding with things like that. When you actually think something's going to happen, you see a vision of it, or you know cognitively it's going to happen, and then it does. Some people might say that's manifesting on a dark side, if you know, but it's not. It's more than that. It's being in tune with things. It's being in tune with the fact that your past, your present, your future can be accessed in any one moment, you know. So it is about how you experience and what you're experiencing now. And I've got premonitions and precognitions. I had several huge ones, and a lot of them came by dreams. Some of them were in my waking moments. I've had some really freaky waking moments, but there was one particular one where I was married at the time, and I woke up and I was absolutely delirious, heartbroken, sobbing, you know. I wouldn't call myself somebody who cries too freely. I've had to learn to do that. That was a childlike program as well. From those words, I'll give you something to cry for. So when you cried when you were little, you cried silently, so nobody knew, you know, like, you know, that was the way it was. Anyway, so jump forward, and I had this occasion where I woke up and I was beside myself. That's the only way I can explain it. And my husband said, "What on earth is the matter?" At the time, my husband at the time, "What on earth is the matter?" I just had this awful dream, and I told him that I'd seen him in a white unmarked van. He was a plumber at the time. He had a white van, and it had all his sign writing on it and everything. He was a self-employed plumber. And I'd see you in a white van, and you didn't recognize me. We were at the traffic lights. You didn't recognize me. We were at the junction. You didn't recognize me. You pulled up outside a house, and you didn't recognize me. You know, like it was this overwhelming fear that he wasn't going to recognize me. Roughly a year after that, he had a motorcycle accident, and he suffered a bleed on the brain. He had more than one heart attack. He was airlifted from a road that's notoriously known for bikers as being a wonderful road to use. It was May time. It was back in 2013, and the result of that was he was airlifted to the hospital. He spent a month in hospital, had surgery on his leg, conservatively dealt with brain injury, but we divorced. Well, we separated nearly 18 months after that. There was an episode shortly after that where he pulled up at the traffic lights. I would recognize my husband from anywhere, but I wasn't the one who suffered a brain injury, a memory loss. I mean, the day that he had the accident, when I first got to the hospital, he didn't know who I was, and he was asking his two daughters from his previous marriage when their mum was coming to pick them up, and they'd been divorced 12 years prior to that. So so like I say, after we separated, he pulled up at the traffic lights and I was walking across there waving, hi, like that's I'm still married to that man at this point. I've been married 7 years, you know, I'm still married to that man, and he's didn't know it was me. And I went right back to the dream that I'd had, you know. That was a premonition, a precognition. It was absolutely everything. So
and it was so right on, though,
Oh,
your
yeah.
dream.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it's exactly.
Absolutely. And the thing is, when you have these situations, is that because I also deal with mediumship and psychic development.
Okay.
And it's important to understand that the idea that you're going to rain off somebody's clothing and the nicknames and the things like that doesn't actually necessarily come like that. It doesn't come like that. Sometimes it's the simplest thing. And what came from this dream was you didn't recognize me. You didn't even know who you were, who I was. That's what came from this dream. I can encapsulate everything into that. And when that happened that day, that's exactly what it was. He didn't recognize me. In fact, that had already happened when I turned up at the hospital, when he asked his daughters when their mum was coming to pick him up. You know, he didn't recognize me. So
what would you say, for example, for me, right? I feel I have this intuition because I've been dating, and before I even break it off with him, I'm in tears knowing it's over. And they haven't even given me any clue that it's over. And then it's over. Like this recent one, he didn't give me any clue it's over. He left me saying, I love you, I love you. But I was telling Guy, I've been in tears today because I know it's over. Right? It's like when you reflect back. So what would you say to me? Is that like a premonition, or am I just being crazy, or is it something to develop? Like you're saying, you help.
You're not crazy.
That.
I have to interject there. You're not crazy. It's not crazy at all. Development, yes, because then you'll realize when it's something to trust. It's knowing whether it's your intuition, which definitely comes from your stomach, you know, from that stomach area internally.
Okay.
And it gives you a guttural feeling, you know, a feeling, which is an emotion. And you said you were crying. That's how it came.
Very emotional.
You know, absolutely. So yeah, first of all, I would say you are not crazy. It is your intuition, which is your spirit. That's your psychic. You know, that's your psychic stuff. That's where it comes from. It's your spirit. We all have spirit, you know, and that's what brings me on to Reiki. I went into Reiki as a result of the situation with my husband. I'd actually gone into it a couple of months before, started to study. A very good friend of mine who approached me a few years before that and just said, you need to come and see me. And I was a bit like, what do you mean I need to come and see you? And that's where it started. She was a Reiki master teacher, and I started to learn my Reiki about 3 months before my husband had his accident. And then I realized that's why I'd done it, you know, because I think I'd already started to open. I went into the Reiki first degree where you self-treat, you know, and that was very much about opening. I'd thought, you know what, this is the way I am. This is what I've got. But I don't want to be, I don't think I was ever really consciously frightened of it, but I'd had a program in that this wasn't real, you know, like, so like you just said, am I going crazy? I'd had that program in, you know, that this wasn't real. I was a little bit loopy, you know, like, but don't worry, because you're a nice person with it. So it's not a problem, you know, that sort of thing. And I just got to that point where I was, no, do you know what? It's not that. And too much has happened in my life. I cannot ditch the things that have happened, the things I've known, the things I've felt were going to be, that have turned out to be, you know, I could not ignore that anymore. I thought I need to work this one out. So that's how I got into Reiki. It's a classic case of you walk into Reiki and then everything opens up. So if you're already somewhat open, then it's just going to open up the floodgates, you know.
Fascinating. Now, here's a question for you. I recently, someone told me that the guy who created Reiki, the Japanese guy whose name escapes me, that he was actually channeling demons, and that it's actually a little bit kind of in a way that when Solomon created the temple, he used demons to assist, because everything is God's servant. I'm just kind of trying to work out how that can actually, what I know of Reiki theoretically is that it's a force for good. How can that then have any form of demonic system?
Yeah. So firstly, Dr. Mikao Usui, and that was the guy, the Japanese guy, and it was the late 1800s, early 1900s. He rediscovered it. So it was something that was already there. The ancients used it. It was something that the Egyptians used, energy healing. Tibetans, it was ancient. It's thousands of years old. It's just that over the years, as we said, I alluded to witchcraft, and witches were burnt at the stake. It was all suppressed by religion mainly. And when we talk about, when somebody mentions demons, because I've heard stories like that guy as well. I've heard stories like, I've read them and I thought, interesting. Once again, when you talk about demons, you're talking about a religious edge to things. And unfortunately, and I'm not going to say all religion, but unfortunately, religion has damaged anything other than what it believes. It's demonized, as you just said, anything other than. And as far as Christianity is concerned, it's not, Reiki isn't conducive to it. I read that very recently. It's not conducive, and I find it very hard. But that's just the confines, the programming from centuries and centuries, well, thousands, ancestral programming attached to religion. It's not about Reiki. It's oh, I don't know. It's like saying, which actually did happen only 4.5 years ago. It's like saying that using herbs and things like that wouldn't help against a virus or an infection, or it was like saying if you said that, if you reported that, if you put that on social media, you were being misleading and dangerous.
Right.
It's the same concept,
Mm-hmm.
So that may be a belief. As far as I'm aware, Dr. Mikao Usui sat at the base of a tree and found himself channeling energy and brought that back to a very, very 3D world, which was very, very fear-filled. And the end of it still is, but it is subsiding. So it's all fear-based.
I think it's very interesting the way you say that it's not conducive to Christianity, because when you think that Yeshua, Jesus, was a master healer himself. I mean, a woman actually walked up to him and touched the hem of his garment, and she was instantly healed because her faith was that strong.
Yeah.
And yet is it 43,000 different denominations of the one true faith? Look upon anything, I mean, literally, Jesus, the only one can do it. If you don't accept Jesus as your personal savior, you're going to burn in hell, because basically God loves you.
Yeah.
And you're going to spend eternity in hell. And what I always wonder is, when does eternity start? Does eternity start when you die?
Yeah.
Or does it go back to the very beginning? And if it went to the very beginning, wouldn't you already be in hell? And I'm now really confused.
Absolutely. And when you talk about energy, which of course is scientifically proven that energy never dies, it does. There's so many contradictions, and I have to say that, and like I say, it's not all religion, but your mainstream religions, the first few that come to mind, are very fear-based. So yes, it doesn't surprise me that in general Christianity doesn't feel that Reiki is conducive to its format. Is probably the best way to say it.
So what are some great applications? What are some great applications when using Reiki? Like, what is the best results that you've gotten for whatever someone was dealing with?
Okay, so Reiki works on a mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual level. It works on all levels. Okay, and there I actually want to add that even though, as you just said, Guy, this chap was saying that it was demonic and stuff like that, actually the NHS have taken it on now. So I don't know how you want to look at that one, but Yeah, I did think that. I thought, brilliant. I don't know if I know that. I don't know if I feel brilliant about that, but I think what they recognize is, at the very, very least, Reiki can help with your well-being overall. So relaxation, peace, just the tranquility that can come from surrendering yourself to a moment, which happens when you're in a Reiki session. At the very, very least, they recognize that people who have been dealing with treatment for serious illnesses, cancer or long-term conditions, things like that, they could help with some relaxation. They need relaxation. They need that well-being, you know. So they recognize what is beginning to be recognized with science is that it's not all about having your leg amputated, you know, or having cancer treatment. It's not all about that, because if you are not in balance, if you are not in a good place when all this is happening, if you are not kept buoyant mentally, emotionally, spiritually, then it doesn't matter what a health service or whatever can do, a doctor can do. It's only going to work so far, you know, and that's what they're beginning to recognize. So going back to what you just said, I've treated a cancer patient who was told that even with chemotherapy and radiation treatment, that she probably wouldn't see more than 18 months. At that point, she just decided she wanted to get as much time as possible, because both her sons had said they were going to get married, and you know, so she wanted to see the wedding and things like that. And she said to me, "Do you think Reiki can help?" And I said, "It's certainly not going to harm, because I believe it's not going to harm. And a lot of it's about intent as well. You know, everything's about intention, is it not? Mm-hmm. Really, you know, that's the difference between whether something is light or dark, is intention, you know. So I said, it's certainly not going to do any harm. At the very, very least, it's going to make you feel in that moment much more calm about things, you know. Maybe it'll help you accept, maybe it'll help you realize actually there's a little bit of a battle to come, but I'm going to head my intention that way, you know. It might focus you a little bit. So we set to doing a session. It was an extremely strong session. Normally a Reiki session, I've done a Reiki session that lasted 50 to 55 minutes before. Some of me wonders whether I fell asleep, I have to say, you know, like, it was so lovely, because I always get something from any of these energy sessions, but this particular one, we could only manage 20 minutes. It was really strong. The only intention I put in is that my client's going to feel better than they did before we started. You know, they're going to feel better. That's my only intention, because I do believe there is a higher power involved with it all, and I do believe that has got far more consciousness than I will ever achieve. So I'm offering that up, saying, well, you know what's going on, I'll just channel you, you know, I'll just channel it. So that's what I did. And it was a very strong session. I had to stop. I was getting razor blade feelings in my hands, and she was getting extreme heat, to the point where she said if I hadn't stopped, she would have asked me to stop. And that's an opportunity that everybody's got. I say that to everybody. If you feel uncomfortable, not that there'll be any reason that you do, just let me know and I can stop. But it rarely happens. That, I have to say, that was the first time I ever had it, and the only time. She went for a scan 3 weeks later, and the tumor had shrunk so much they actually chose to believe that they'd wrongly diagnosed her.
Wow.
I'm not saying I had anything to do with that. He believes that. My intention was that she would feel better when we finished the session, you know.
That's so wonderful. And what I'm hearing too is it's all about the energy. And I know a lot of cancer is based on mindset and how we think, and our weak points in our body is what it attaches to.
Yeah.
So I think Reiki is, I think that's amazing, because it was part of the Reiki, and the mindset of I want to get well,
Yeah.
but I'm going into something else to get well. I'm doing something different.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's great.
Yeah, I mean,
And
if you,
go
sorry,
ahead,
Tina,
Guy.
sorry, Tina, I interrupted you. Carry on.
Oh, I was just going to ask another question. For you, how do you manage your own energy when does the energy come into you, or are you like dispelling their energies?
So for me, when I first started, I felt I was bringing it in through my crown chakra, because we talk about, in energy healing world, we talk about the 7 main chakras mainly. Although as time has gone on, we we have got more than those chakras, and they are changing as well, which that's evolution, is it not? That's that's how things go. We progress and we learn more, but also we change. So things are changing as our vibrations are raising, we are changing, and our chakras are changing. And I used to believe that I was bringing it in from source through my crown, and I was taking it down through to my heart, which was then sending it out through my arms and the palms of my hands to my client. And I mainly do hands-on as opposed to hovering.
Oh, yeah.
But either or, it works both ways. But I do hands-on. Most of my clients are of an ilk that prefer to feel a connection, so actually feel you put your hands on them, and then they just completely relax. It's almost like you put your hands on them and they go, oh. Whereas without that, they might not relax into it quite so quickly, and their mind might kick in and say, where is she? What's she doing? Where's she? Did I feel that? That I don't want somebody to try and understand any of it. I just want them to allow it. I'm going to cause no harm. I just want you to allow this in the same way as I'm allowing it. I'm allowing it through me, and you're having it. So that's how I started out. But now I'm very much aware that the energy is all around me all the time. And part of going through your Reiki training, as you get to the master level, which I am, and really honestly being called a Reiki master, it's not like I'm not above I'm not above a station there, it's just part of that part of that process. It's not the same in Rahani, but as a Reiki master, really it's about embodying that you are this energy. So you're not bringing it in from anywhere, you are it. Just as we are spirit, and everything has got a spirit. I am Reiki, that's my spirit. So it's always there. It's kind of like it's always there. And I protect myself in the sense that I will daily cleanse myself, as in spiritual cleansing. So when I have a shower, I'm cleansing off anything any dreams I might have had the night before, thoughts, unintentional ideas that skip in, because sometimes that happens. And I'll do the same when I finish off the day. I always park myself in violet flames, ultraviolet flames, which transmute anything that's not meant for me, which could be stuff that I've already got myself,
Yeah, it's interesting.
Somebody else. So I always use the words that anything that's no longer meant for me or for my highest good, Yeah,
it's beautiful. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. Guy, you had a question for her.
Yeah, sorry, I've forgotten what it was now. But we could move on to Rahani then. So as you were saying to me recently, that Reiki was for the 3D 19th and 20th century, and that Rahani celestial healing is for the 21st and beyond.
Yes, kind of. Yeah, sort of, very loosely. So it was 2002. Carol Ann Stacey first channeled Rahani with her guides. She was a spiritual teacher and healer, and that's when she first brought that in for the age of Aquarius. If you kind of go along with that train of thought, for the new age kind of thing. There's lots of words used for it. I don't really like joining in with them all, to be honest. I just know going forward, and appreciating the changes we've already experienced. So yes, she brought that in 2002. It's a lighter, finer, higher vibration, and therefore can go deeper. However, it's no better than Reiki. They have got their place in energy healing, spiritual healing, however you want to call it. So yeah, it's no better than, but it's got its place. So that's sort of loosely it.
Okay, so going back to what you're saying about, I remember what I was going to say now. Remember what you talk about chakras, and you're saying that so we started with 7, now we have more.
We had more. We had more anyway, but what we were aware of was 7 that we work with as healers. So sort of coming from the ground up, if you like. You've got your base chakra, your root chakra, your base chakra, which is sort of in the base of your spine. And then you have your sacral chakra, which is a couple of inches, 3 inches below your belly button. Then you have your solar plexus, which is a couple of inches, 3 inches above your belly button. That's kind of your powerhouse. That's it, if you like, the battery of the car almost. You know, it's like that's where your confidence and your esteem and your worth tends to come from. It's also, couple that with the sacral chakra that's just beneath it. That's where you feel a lot of your intuition. It's not in the mind, it's in the body, and that's the seat of your power, so to speak. Then you move on up. These are very much, those 3 chakras are very much about your physical body, your physical existence. For instance, your root chakra is all about your security, stability, foundation, financial stability and security. Very much about your spine. You know, quite often people, I myself suffer back problems, and I can relate to an insecurity and I think we all have them somewhere along the line. Very, it's all about your fears about where you sit in the world and how founded you are, you know. Your sacral chakra is your creativity, which also includes your reproductive organs and things like that. So that's creativity, you know. And then your solar plexus, like I say, this is your confidence, your worth, your self-esteem, you know, or lack of. And that one's yellow. They've got colours as well, attributed colours. So we've got red for the root, and orange for the sacral, and yellow for the solar plexus. And you can start thinking about things that I remember, for instance, as saying that jealousy was the same as yellow belly. You know, we used to have you're such a yellow belly, so jealous, you know. Well, if you think about it, if you were jealous, you wouldn't be very confident. You're not very confident. Your worth is less. You think your worth is less than it is. That would make you feel jealous of somebody else that you perceived as having more, being more than you are, you know. Well, that kind of makes sense. That comes from that solar plexus, you know, and the yellow belly. Well, yeah, that makes sense. You know, it kind of just is, you know. So yeah, so then we move up. We come to the heart chakra, the heart space, which is the astral bridge. That bridges between the physical form and the physical life with the spiritual and everything else. So that one's green or pink usually, and that's where Rahani works from, actually. So that's from the heart. So it starts at the astral bridge, and there on up we've got the throat, which is blue, the third eye, which is indigo, and then the crown, white, violet, pearlescent. We start getting very spiritual. Well, we get very spiritual all the way up from the heart, to be fair. So we work with those, the crown down to the base, mainly, but then you expand on that. And I think that's about the healer as well themselves, you know, and how long they've been healing, and how much they've done, and how much delving they've done into it, and things like that. So yeah.
I've heard of the soul chakra. I guess it's
soul star.
Higher, soul star.
Soul star.
I just read about that the other day.
Yeah, soul star. So it's 6 to 12 inches above your head. You've got your earth star chakra, roughly the same beneath. That's also construed as a base chakra. In some cultures, as some beliefs will say, that's a base chakra, and then our root chakra is the one at the base of the spine, if you know what I mean. There's different terminology attached to it, depending on where you read, where you research, and where you train, and what you learn, as with everything.
Interesting.
It's funny because I just like Tina read about the Soul Star. I've read this week about the second chakra, so the sacral chakra, being the root of where in that part of your spine is in line with the part of your digestive system, which is where all your parasites exist.
Yeah.
And the person was saying that the second chakra isn't actually one of our original chakras. That was placed there a very long time ago for parasites, specifically for those who invite parasites into their lives. And that got me thinking to something I thought about a couple of years ago in the heart of that medical emergency we had, where I started noticing that people were behaving differently. And I was then reminded of 2016 when Hillary Clinton was walking to her car and suddenly started doing this, and the security guard had to drag her into a vehicle and shuffle her away, because my first thought was, oh, her demons just left because she failed. That then got me thinking about parasites. Are parasites are parasites a physical entity for which dark astral entities can enter to then sit there and feed off of the nutrients within your body, but also to then, because the parasites are also defecating into the defecation system, which you're going to get chemical responses to, that then maybe get you to go, do you know what, let's go and get hammered drunk and do some coke, so that they can then feed off of the party time and also the negative ramifications that come afterwards. And I just wondered, as someone who understands this, what if you've never heard of that before, what do you think? Because I know for me it blew my mind, and it literally said, yeah, do you know what, I already knew that.
Makes sense. Yeah. One thing I've learned over the years is anything is possible. Anything is possible. The minute we close our minds is that's a very dark time. I think that's a very dangerous time. The minute we close our minds on the way we understand things is a dark time, because then we're not going to let in any new stuff. We're not going to let in any new ideas, any new possibilities, or just because it's possible doesn't mean it's probable. To answer your question, I don't know for sure, but it's possible. And it certainly makes sense.
There's something else that came to me last year, I think, in regards to the chakras, was when you look at the colours of the lower chakras, they're the colours of fire. And so that's the flames of hell. Then you go above that, and then you get to the heart chakra.
Yeah.
And heart is an anagram of earth, which is green.
Absolutely.
And then you go above it, which you've got the blue of the throat chakra, which is the sky.
Yeah.
And above that is the darkening sky that goes into space, which
beyond,
is
absolutely
purple, and then it's basically indigo, and then purple.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, whoa. And it was at the same time as I heard about someone, because this just came to me, Tina. This just come out of my brain, suddenly spat that out, and it's like, whoa. And it was around the same time that I was listening to a guy talking about there's actually 9 chakras, that we have evolved a 9th chakra, and then on top of that, you go a few years beyond that, and I'm hearing about this thing called the assemblage point, which as the fact that you do shamanic healing as well, you must have heard of the assemblage point.
Yes. So I mean, this is the thing with all this stuff is coming out all the time. I mean, it's probably always been there. Were we able to access it? Absolutely not. But now we are in an age of actually we can access whatever it is we want. And knowledge is, well, ignorance is a choice. It's a choice. It's a choice now. And it's amazing. You start looking at something and then you follow on from that, And I always say, and it was always said to me, and I totally get it, if ever I'm helping somebody, if ever I'm mentoring somebody or helping somebody, I always say, take what resonates with you and run with it. Because not everything somebody says at one moment can be taken in, and our brain will do that, but also our feeling body will do that as well. Our sentience, as we are, we're all feeling bodies. Can only take on so much, and to your own consciousness as well. So there will be things that people talk about. I've done it over the years. I thought, oh, I don't know about that, and I've had to take it and then walk away with it. Oh no, I need to go back and make myself, I don't know, I need to go back and make myself some lunch so that I can process these things, you know, that sort of thing, and go and do something simple so so that things can start to settle wherever it is they settle in me. Then I can come back to it and I can look into it, and it's about processing, you know, it's about processing. So yes, I have heard that. And shamanism, this takes me back to when, you know, I mentioned about the witches being hunted and burnt at the stake. All they were people of the land. That's all they were. Instead of praying to something up there, external from them, that they never met necessarily, or not in their waking moments, all these people, these witches, these, you know, whatever else you want to call them, they had their feet on the land, on the ground. They worked with animals, they worked with plants, they worked with everything natural. They worked with the cycles. We're cyclic creatures, but actually we completely lost our cycles. Within 24 hours, there's no pattern to anything anymore. You know, I never had a problem sleeping. I always used to be able to say, well, whatever it is I'm worrying about, I can't sort out until I get up in the morning anyway. However, you can't apply that logic anymore, because you could do your shopping online at 3 a.m. if you weren't sleeping. It's not just making tea anymore. You can do anything at 3 a.m.
Yeah.
I remember my first experience in America was went to on exercise in the army, went to Canada, and then from Canada I went to San Francisco. Then from there went to Las Vegas, and my buddy and I were running around, wandering around Las Vegas, middle of the night. You could buy a pizza, which, like, coming from Wantage, you know, pizza shop shut at 11:10 or half 11. Like, the pub kicks out at 11:20. All the fast food joints are closed by 12 o'clock so that they can get that foot traffic. Over there, get a pizza at 3 o'clock. And we went into a Levi's shop, and I got some woman come up to me saying, "Hi, how can I help you?" And it's like 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, so I'm just looking, because this is blowing my mind. How am I can't buy a pair of jeans at 4 o'clock in the morning. Are you mad? And why am I even awake at 4 in the morning?
Yeah,
it's the city that never sleeps. That's what we call it. Yeah.
But unfortunately, that's the way the world has become. It never sleeps. Actually, we need to sleep. We need to go back to our cycles. You know.
I remember coming back and telling everyone about it. And they go, "Really? Wow, it's amazing." They go, "That's crazy. It's crazy." And then, like, that was 1988, and now, like you say, and you don't even need to go out now. You can stay sat in your.
We're all from home. That was made important, wasn't it, 4.5 years ago? You can do it all from home now. You know, you don't even have to leave the comfort of your home now. You can do it all from home. It's okay to do it from home. It's sad, you know.
It is, because we're missing a lot, right? We're missing the actual weather outside. We're missing sunlight coming in. We're not getting our nutrients because of it. We're not being rested in our mind because of it. We're not grounded anymore. It's quite sad, really.
We're naturally social beings as well.
We are.
And we're cutting off our social interaction. So one of the things in my energy healing practice in Wantage at home is that whilst I do absent healing and distant healing, I will always have a room where people come to me, because that's really important to me. You know, it's really important to me that I am sitting with somebody and they're sitting with me, and we're having a conversation that flows, or doesn't, but it usually does, you know. And the healing is about hands-on and not through the ether. I'm not saying it doesn't work, but we're humans. We're meant to interact. It adds to our well-being. Once again, it adds to our well-being. Right. Unfortunately, our well-being has gone it's just shot off, you know. And
so much.
It really has. And is there any one specific answer? I don't think there is, but there are many, many, many very important aspects to that. And one of those is the lack of human interaction.
Oh my God.
Massive.
Thank you so much for mentioning that, Liz, because it's so important to me. I like to be out anyway, right?
Yeah.
So I started these dating apps, and it was all just texting. I'm like, are you going to ask to see me?
Yeah.
Right? Oh, well, I'll call you. And I'm like, but I don't know if I like you until I see you in person.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
You can be the most awesome writer in the world and text messenger and amazing voice and whatever. But if I can't be with you, how the hell am I going to know if we're compatible?
Absolutely. And that's the thing. When you're in somebody's aura, so their aura, their energy that is emitted, you know, electromagnetic field, force field that's emitted from the heart all around us, our aura, which strangely enough is 2 meters. Where have you heard that before? 6 feet, 2 meters. When you're in that with people, you start learning things about them. You don't even realize that's where your inner senses are they're coming out. They are literally coming out like the clappers, picking up bits of information about that person that's just walked into your ear. Their aura has walked into your aura, and you're picking up information from them. Without it, we're run. It's a little bit like using only your outer senses and losing your sight or your hearing. All the other ones have then got to work 10 times harder to make up for that one main one or 2 main ones that are no longer there or not working properly. You know, when you're not in somebody's aura, and when our auras aren't interacting with each other, there's so much we're missing. But that we're deeming that from them, you know, and it's all that conversation is going on between our bodies, between our beings, between our 3 minds and our 4 bodies, you know, all the time. And without that human interaction, how could we possibly know? That you need it all to build up a big picture, to be able to trust. And of course, you don't have to trust other people. The one you trust is yourself. You have to trust yourself, because if you truly trust yourself, then you'll know that your interactions with other people are the ones that are meant to be, you know?
Yeah, that's a really good point about the trust. And I like how you mentioned the auras and the connection you have with people within their auras. I think that's such a beautiful thing, because isn't that how we know we connect, right? We're going to meet more, and you're my new friend, and that kind of thing, right? Or even like the dating thing.
Absolutely.
A guy even said to me, Tina, you're just going to meet someone when you're out and about. You're not going to meet them.
I remember saying the same thing years ago. I want to be out walking my dog. That's how I want to meet somebody. Because, you know, because a dog, I mean, dogs and cats, our pets, we should be able to give them an app that shows us who we're meant to hitch up with, you know, like, because they know they work the same way. Their senses are working tenfold, you know. It's not just that they've got a much more heightened sense of smell or sight or whatever. It's them as creatures, you know. Their sense, their sentient being, their spirit is in charge. Really, it's in charge. That's why they have behavioral issues. I bring back to energy why we have behavioral issues, you know, that and Reiki and Rahani and energy healing deals with behavioral issues a lot. So
can you give me an example of that? I'm just not picturing it yet, how that
okay,
works.
so behavioral issues, that's what we're talking about.
Yes.
So say an addiction.
Okay,
say an addiction. Somewhere along the line with an addiction, that person, and we're talking about any addiction, I won't necessarily say a substance addiction, you know, like alcohol or drugs or something like that, but an addictive behavior it's a behavior, it's unleashed by an emotion. There's an emotion in there that somewhere along the line the person who's challenged by it is not dealing with, you know. So if we were to take it back to our intuition, be able to get back to our gut feeling, it's what are you feeling? What are you feeling? Why are you feeling this? But we've become so disconnected from our feelings that we don't understand why we're doing the things we're doing. So we're running along, drinking far too much caffeine, you know, spending far too much time scrolling. You know, we're addicted to whatever it is we're addicted to. Food is a big one. You know, people are addicted to food. Emotional eaters. I class myself as an emotional eater. We're addicted to things because of a feeling that's uncomfortable, because actually, once again, we've been programmed not to listen to our feelings because our brain is more important. You know, our mind is more important. Can't have the one without the other. They connect and work through our chakras and work through our bodies and work through our energy bodies as much as they work for our physical body, and that it's all part of our aura. So that's what I mean by our behaviors.
Yeah.
We get driven by our behaviors because we're not understanding the emotion that's beneath the behavior. There's always an emotion beneath the behavior.
So would the emotion beneath the behavior, once we identify that, help us more be into our bodies and more
absolutely
present?
And it is about getting into your body. It's about getting out of your head, because your head is telling you your body is experiencing a reaction because your head has told you you're in a dangerous position. Maybe once upon a time that worked, you know, thousands of years ago when we had to run away from saber-toothed tigers. Yes, our life was in danger, literally in danger, because if we didn't run fast enough, that saber-toothed tiger could catch us and eat us. And that's the end of us and the end of life as we know it in that lifetime anyway. But somewhere along the line, we have become disconnected from those primal drives that let off an emotion of fear. We've become disconnected, and the slightest thing can make us fear. Not being able to access your telephone, for instance, your phone, your mobile phone, because you use that to contact everybody. Oh my God. It's like, if you suddenly can't use, oh my God. You know, and it's in that moment, that moment, it's almost as if I'm going to die. You know, that if I don't sort this out, my life as I know it will never be the same again. To a degree, that's right. Would it be bad? But we don't think logically. So our body is responding to something that feels similar that might have happened in our life before, where maybe we did feel challenged that our life was about to end, you know, or our being was at a point where it could have ended.
And you're talking also about the addiction, right? The addiction to the phone. It's like the phone itself, right? Like that is, I mean, for me, it's an addiction. I'm learning how to push it away a little bit more. Absolutely. It doesn't work very well for me. No. But it is, you're right.
Be aware, Tina, you go back a couple of thousand years ago, they had things called scrying mirrors that were black obsidian mirrors.
Yes.
Well, if you look at your phone,
yes, absolutely,
it's a black screen, and you can stare into it without the thing on, and you can just basically, you know, the scrying mirror was like a crystal ball.
Yes.
Stare at it long enough, stuff would come out. Well, if you imagine that machine's got an energy center of its own, it could be channeling God knows what. And it
Well, we do know that the images that come up on your phone, you know, they will incur a reaction. Those images will incur a reaction that comes up on your phone, and your phone comes up with images, not just that you have programmed it with.
And the AI is also taking note of the things that you look at, and it's basically sending you,
and it's bringing those things to you. Yes, that's right.
And so
right within your aura, you know, you're really confusing yourself there with another form of something. And you say about scrying, the black screen, it was also you could do it in water, because we can do it now, like little scrying bowls where you have water and you can look into the water and see things, you know. But it's really our life today is, all of us are addicted to something in
screens.
But we really shouldn't be making light of that. You know, if you're addicted to something, it's not good, is it? You can say, that's okay to be addicted to that. Going to the gym, for instance, to be addicted to going to the gym, that's okay because that's fit for. Well, actually, if the reason you're going to the gym is because you're addicted to it, no, that's not good, because nothing is good to be addicted to. It's out of balance.
It's funny you should say that, because it was only recently I worked out that I had a 12-year process of doing strongman followed by high-level powerlifting, competitive strongman, competitive powerlifting. I had no PTSD issues at all. As soon as I got injured, and I got injured in 2019 and I had to stop, but I found the rehab process was also quite distracting. But COVID came along, and I wasn't able to lift weights anymore because the gym was closed. But I then was able to then turn that rage into basically doing calisthenics and doing hours and hours and hours of burpees and press ups and bodyweight squats and so on. But it was recently I realized, do you know what? All my PTSD shit started to kick in after I injured myself and I was no longer able to lift heavy.
Yeah.
Because it was a distraction.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That's exactly what I'm talking about. So it's a distraction from actually doing something that will get rid of the PTSD. It's not getting rid of the PTSD, because what you're saying is it didn't get rid of your PTSD, but it dealt with it. It kind of harmonized it a little bit, made you.
Well, I would say it actually covered it over. Like I said, they have tarmac over the top and I can't see it anymore. But if you watch tarmac over time, if they don't get rid of the weeds properly, trees start to grow through it. And then the next thing you know, is you've got a massive oak in the middle of your road.
Absolutely.
And that's what happened. I mean, and if I actually go back to when I first came out of the army, I remember having a third eye vision of me standing on an ammunition box, and the lid was going like that, and I was having to put all my weight into this because I knew that if that lid popped up, I'd go completely barking mad.
Yeah.
So I had to keep that suppressed.
Yes.
And then as I was able to disappear that vision out of my mind, I was able to then go, do you know what? That wasn't real. That's cool. And then move forward.
Yeah.
But all the time, the sound of that lid crackling away in the back of my mind.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that when I did finally start dealing with it, about 3-4 years ago, there was a long period of at least 1 year where I wasn't feeling very cheerful. I'd have periods where I like real openings. You know, like feel, oh wow, I feel amazing. I remember was doing a healing bath, a sound bath, and my third chakra, my second chakra started to fizz.
Yes.
Like, whoa, it's like whoa. And then that evening, all my chakras opened up. Up to my heart chakra. So all my lower chakras, my heart chakra, all popped open. And then after that, I was getting issues with my throat, and then I was getting tickling on my third eye. And just getting people running over the top of my scalp. But I saw these chakras open up. But then after that, so that was just like that was wonderful. I was like, oh, that's amazing. I'm healed. And then the next thing, for the next year, I'm going up, down.
Yes.
Having nightmare experiences and real dark night of the soul stuff.
But the biggest thing was, Guy, you stopped suppressing.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest thing. We've been programmed to suppress. Your vision was about suppressing your feelings because actually they're uncomfortable, they're messy, they're big, other people don't like them. So I
have to face my guilt and the fear.
Yep.
Because I remember saying to you that I didn't experience fear for a very long time. I just experienced rage. And that was another awakening was, do you know what? I'm not actually really angry. I'm actually terrified.
Absolutely. People don't, I remember having that conversation with you. People don't realize that fear, that anger is fear too. It's a version of it, so we see a lot of angry people. You see them when driving, a lot of angry people. You see a lot of angry people. There's a lot of angry keyboard warriors online. There's a lot of angry people. I just wish they realized that actually they're scared. They're fearing something along the line. Actually, there's probably nothing to fear in that moment, but they're stuck in that. They're stuck mainly because, like I say, we have been so disconnected. We've talked about our mind being disconnected from our body, our thoughts being disconnected from our feelings, but they are intrinsically linked. So we need to understand that, and that's where energy comes in, because it's all related. You have to realize how energy works in order to get the most out of your energy.
It's like you say that you in the moment, because that was one of the big aha moments I had, was where I was sitting with all the worries and the stresses and the stuff in the past and potential terrible things going to happen in the future. And so, but what's happening right now? While I'm sitting here, I'm warm.
Yeah,
I've had a meal, so I'm not starving. No danger around me at this moment.
I'm safe.
Right now, I'm okay. Everything's cool.
Safe. Absolutely. Yeah, you're right. There's that thought process, isn't there? That if you're anxious, if you suffer anxiety, you're worrying, you're fearing the future. And if you're depressed, you're fearing you're stuck in the past.
Yeah.
But they sort of, depressed is depressing down your feeling, you know. And the answer is, there is no quick fix. The answer is to accept your feelings, you know, to have your feelings. I had this conversation recently. It's about, nobody denies feeling joy and happiness, fun, love. Nobody denies that. Nobody wants to chuck that away. Nobody wants to, what they don't like doing, what they will stop from happening, is feeling angry or hurt or feeling a pain or something. Pain, for instance, if you talk about physical pain, just briefly, if you talk about physical pain, it's there letting you know something. So rather than taking a pill to kill the pain, why don't we have a look and see what that pain's about? Connect with the body. It's so possible to sit and connect with your body, with your inner senses, to work out what that pain is trying to tell me. Because it might be that we don't need to take a pill at all. It might be that we need to change our lives. It's likely that we need to change our lives on whatever level is the bit that you might not want to know about, you know, but the pill won't solve the pain. All it will do is block the receptor, you know, of the pain. And it won't change the pain. You'll just be carrying on with it without knowing, which, let's face it, we're doing anyway, you know, by suppressing stuff. So it's all about stopping and feeling the pain. So whether that's a physical pain, that's just the easiest analogy, but emotional pain, you know, mental pain, and all of this, all the energy stuff, our job is to raise our own vibration, is to look after our own energy, to clean our own energy, raise our own vibration, clear our frequency, you know, so that it can continue to vibrate higher and higher. That's how we're going to change things in the world and collectively, if we completely take part in raising our own vibration, which is all about cleaning up our energy, sorting out our own issues first.
It's like you were saying earlier about the health service, that they're starting to get into Reiki 100 years late. But
at least they're doing it.
It strikes me that they're doing a lot like what the oil companies are doing. The oil companies are getting into green technologies. They're getting into ancient healing technology, because probably they can see the future is energy healing. Because if you think about it, an efficacious pill only needs to be 6% more effective than a placebo. And the placebo is your mind. I remember seeing Dr. Richard Dawkins on he did a series of looking into alternative healing, and it was all just mumbo jumbo. But he went and had a Reiki healing, and when he came out, he said, "You know what? I feel pretty damn good. It must be the placebo." And I ran up to the screen and punched it. Idiot! You're like very highly educated idiot. Can you not see the placebo? That is the healing.
Yeah.
The mind and the body come together, and they heal you of whatever your malady is.
Absolutely.
So you don't need to go to see a doctor, have parts of you cut off or cut out or basically irradiated or poisoned, in the hope that maybe if they poison you enough, they'll kill the problem, not kill you, because they still need you to keep living for another 30 years so they can profit off of you from the next treatment. And the
like
next
parasites, Guy, just like parasites.
Yeah, just like parasites.
Parasite doesn't want to kill its host.
No. Until it's killed it, and then it moves on to something else.
And then it'll find something else, yeah. But the easiest thing for it is to just take over its host, you know, like, and until obviously at some point, yeah. So yeah, no, you're right. It's all about energy, and you mentioned something there. It's so important for us to realize that it's all connected. Our mind, our body, it's all connected, and energy is going to be, energy has always been. I hate the term alternative therapy. What do you mean alternative? It was original. It's original.
Original therapy.
It's like organic food. You know, they call it organic. No, organic food is actual food. The stuff that's not organic has gone through a process.
Yes.
That's not really food. It probably used to be. Parts of it did. used to be. Some of it's
originally, but it's been synthesized so much or whatever. Yeah.
Organic is just come straight out of the ground, or it's basically been wandering around the field eating grass and basically drinking fresh water. So we're in a topsy-turvy time where the truth is completely. So I truly believe that what you do, Liz, is part of you're doing something for other people, but at the same time you're not just doing something for other people on an individual basis. You're creating a system, not a system's wrong word. You're creating a milieu, posh word there, French I believe, where people's minds are changing about what is real.
Yes.
And you were also saying that you're doing this. You're doing this for people. I've read something recently saying that miracles. God doesn't create miracles for man. Man creates miracles for God. And it's literally comes to the Hermetic principle that there is nothing that isn't God. Everything is God. We are all part of God. We're all aspects of the fractals of the greater whole that are living, having experiences, so that the creative mind that created the universe can find out what it's like to be you and me.
Absolutely, yeah.
And that part of this is
we're all one. We're all one.
That's what I was trying to get at.
Yeah, we're all one. So that's where Reiki works. It works with the spirit. You know, that's where Rahani works, of one heart. That's what it's translated as the old Sanskrit word is Rahani, but it's of one heart, because we are all connected. Everything is connected. Everything is connected, which is why if we take charge of ourselves and higher our own frequency and vibration, it is going to higher everything. If everybody's doing that, and if you can shine your little bit of light on somebody that's maybe not carrying as much of their own light or is in a dark place at the moment, then that little bit of light you can shine on somebody else, they can then see their way out of that darkness, and then their light will start to shine. And it is because we are all connected. It is that way, you know. That's how it works.
I love that you said that, Liz, because I'm really managing my energy levels. That's really important to me, and I feel my purpose is a light being, and that's what I'm here on this planet to do, is to give people light.
Absolutely.
But what I'm hearing too is we all can be that light.
Absolutely.
Once we clear those energies and create our higher vibrations.
Absolutely. I think I use an analogy of we are all that light. Like you said, we are all that light. We're born that way. That's how we're born. We're born with that light. But over the years, we've taken on so many clothes, so many items of clothing, so to speak, that instead of taking them off and changing those clothing so that we can enhance ourselves, what's happened is we've just kept that clothing on almost, you know. So you put your outfit on and then you put something else on, and then like a coat stand, you just keep putting coats over it. At the end of the day, with all these coats over the coat stand, you don't know that's a coat stand. All you see is a great big mountain of coats. You've got no idea where the coat stand is, but there's a great big mountain of coats. Take those coats off, you've got the coat stand there again. It's the same with us. All of our beliefs and limited ideas and restrictions and things like that are like wearing all the clothes we've ever possessed from the moment we were born to the present day, all at the same time.
And it dims our light and it hides who we are.
You are you? You're not going to know who you are. You're not going to know how you feel. You're not going to know how you think. Your senses won't work properly. They're not, because they're not in charge. You've been completely dulled and brought down. Take all those clothes off, start stripping them off. Each layer represents something, and once you take one layer off, another load will come off anyway, because the buckle was keeping that on, if you know what I mean. Take that buckle away and a load of stuff falls away, and actually that's a big chunk of healing that's happened overnight. That's one of those catapult situations, you know. Like Rahani often does that, because it, very specifically speaking, it works on our limited thinking, the limited and restrictions. So as a result, you pull away one restricted thought and it's like kaplunk, you know, everything starts to fall down, because it was that one thought that was keeping all of that in place precariously. So you take that one out and then everything falls apart. So Rahani specifically that's one of its specifics. That's what it does. So it very much works on the consciousness, and then allows your consciousness then to grow, to open, and for your light to shine. We are all light beings. We just don't realize how bright our light is.
Yeah, I like that, because okay, so Rahani, say you do strip a few of those layers off. Is it a practice to keep those off and not bring your old habits and your old stuff back, right? You just have to keep observing.
Yes, it is. It's about being conscious. It's about being in the now. Everything is about coming back to right now, you know? So you can go and have a session. So with energy healing, we don't heal you. You heal yourself, you know? We just, in effect, it's a little bit like going to a doctor and the doctor saying, take this. We're not doing that. What we're doing is we hope to achieve a form of balance in you during that session that you have, a healing session. We attempt to bring some balance. So we channel the energy into you, around you, and we achieve balance. And then what happens is your spirit recognizes this light, if you like, call it light. The balance is light. Your spirit recognizes this light, recognizes this balance, recognizes this feeling, the way it's meant to be, and then matches it. It's a natural thing. It matches it. But then over time, maybe you'll go back into your life as you were. You will shrug off what you just experienced, you know, because that's a choice. You know, that's a choice. You know, as part of the session, things will become apparent that need to be let go of. You will have been shown something. As part of balance, you will have been shown something. Either we can communicate it, or you found it, you experienced it yourself in the session. And then you have a choice to go away and do things differently or not.
Yeah, it's that choice, right? Like, okay, now you observed it. Now you have a choice to either go back or move forward to your new way of being, right?
That's right.
Yeah, it's really powerful.
And that's where you have to keep bringing yourself back to consciousness. And some people will need more help with that. With an addiction, for instance, some people will need more help with that. Once upon a time, we were told as healers that not to allow your clients to become dependent on you, you know. I think that was a little bit misleading, because actually, what does dependence mean? Once again, hopefully what you're doing is holding somebody upright for a little bit whilst their legs are becoming more steady. And then once they can walk, you don't need to hold anymore. But that doesn't mean they can't come back to you for a little bit of support when needed, for you to hold them again whilst they're, because life will throw curveballs at you. It's about how you then move forward after experiencing a certain amount of healing, how you then move forward and see that curveball. Can you duck so the curveball doesn't hit you?
Or hit it?
Can you catch it and say, right, this could work for me. I just need to look at it differently, you know? Or do you even find yourself walking in a completely different direction? So that curveball you didn't even know was being lobbed, you know? So it's there's loads and loads of concepts, but I think it's very different now. I think because we now do see things differently. You understand that just going to the chiropractor for one session
not going to work.
Isn't going to solve your problem. You know, just going to, I don't know, the osteopath, the podiatrist, you know, all of these alternative holistic therapies, you know, holistic being as in the whole thing, everything married together. Just one session, whilst will make you feel wonderful.
Yeah.
You just one session isn't going to solve anything. It might make you realize, oh, I need to do things differently, you know, and that's, but I like the idea that you can come back and get boosted.
Well,
you know?
I always say, because I'm in my midlife now, and it's my lifestyle. what I'm choosing to do. And it's just a lifestyle to continue my practice for the rest of my life.
That's
if
right.
I want a clear mind, high energy all the time, this is just a consistency that needs to be put in place, because it only helps and supports, and we're a progression. We're a continuously learning and progressive as humans anyway.
Yes, absolutely. I recently did a year's course in life coaching, and I was that was only about 3 years ago now, and I was so pleased I did it, because as with a lot of things, you go ahead and do something and you think, I'm going to be this at the end of it. Well, no, it wasn't about that. It was actually about consolidating everything I'd already learned. And this course was fabulous at making me realize, no, it's not about giving a session to somebody, or like 6 sessions to somebody, or 4 sessions to somebody, or something, and then saying goodbye to them, and that's that. It's about being able to notice, do you know what, that helped me, I'm struggling, I'm going to go and use that tool again, and coming back and having a little bit more. We haven't advertised that to them. All we've said is, well, you know where I am, I'm here, this is what I do. If it worked for you, why would you not go back and see if it could work again when there's a challenge? If you need a little bit of help, maybe you won't. Maybe you'll go back and actually, no, I don't need this anymore. I've moved on, I've moved on. There's something else I need instead, But the course showed me, actually, that's okay. Get rid of that restricted thinking that we're not meant to build a dependency. It's not about dependency. That's a sad word, It's almost like being dependent on something is really, really bad. A baby is dependent on everybody for its life, especially its mother, You can't say that's wrong, It's just about how do you apply that. Actually, you're independent, but you're a social creature, and sometimes you need to go and seek that social aspect. And that could be with an energy healer. It could be, I do card readings as well. And sometimes people come for a card reading, they need a little bit of help with something that's going on in their life, and they just want someone outside of their box to give them an idea, or an alternative. That doesn't mean that you become dependent. There are people who I've done card readings for who become, I guess, what you could class as a genuine regular client, but I don't see them more than twice a year.
Anyway, ladies, I'm getting the warning light.
So really quick, Guy, so we'll end this, but Liz, where can people find you? Okay,
so I don't have a website, but I am on Facebook, Liz Simmonds, Reiki Master. Or you can, my personal profile, but I know I always ping people over to my business ones. I have an email, which is simmonsliz@ymail.com. So you can I'm always available. I check my emails all the time. I might not get back straight away, but it will be as soon as I possibly can. So yeah, I have a presence on social media, and you'll get me. It's Simmonds.
Awesome. All right, thanks.
Thank you very much. It's been amazing.
It's been lovely talking.
It's been so great. I've learned so much from you. Thank you.
Thank you. It's been lovely.